Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Haldimand Mayoralty Debate, coming to you live from the beautiful Caledonia Lions Community Centre. On behalf of your hosts, the Haldimand Press, in partnership with Windecker Road Films, Realtors Association of Hamilton and Burlington, Caledonia Chamber of Commerce, and Caledonia Lions, I'm Connie Smith, and I will serve as your moderator for this evening. You know, folks, Election Day is just 12 days away, and I urge everyone here, both in our audience and those watching on the Haldimand Press YouTube channel, to really listen carefully to the conversations you'll witness tonight. What happens at the local and regional level has a profound effect on our lives, both our work lives and our personal family lives. More now than ever, and not just for us today, but for future generations. It's important. I'd like to applaud our candidates, number one, and I'd like to applaud all of you for joining us tonight, for taking the time and really showing your interest, your commitment to the democratic process. And I know there are some emotional issues in every election and every debate like this, but we do expect a reasonable decorum to ensure our candidates a fair and equitable discussion. That's part of my job. So if you hear something like this, you better just be quiet, please. Otherwise, we may have to ask you to leave the hall and watch the rest of the proceedings in the comfort of your own homes. All right. Now, yes, you can applaud at that. Yes, we like decorum and civility. Now, on the same token, we also ask our candidates to respect each other by not speaking over one another and, again, conversing in a civilized manner. Just to go over some of the ground rules for tonight, questions have been pre-submitted by members of the community, and we will then move on to questions submitted tonight as time allows. And members of the audience here, I will direct you to drop off any questions you have to Caitlin at the table here, waving her arms in her red t-shirt. She will take questions from the floor. Our candidates are all seated in alphabetical order according to their last name, and questions will move left to right, and each round will begin with the next person over. Each candidate has their own microphone in front of them, and candidates, you're allowed 1.5 minutes per question, and you can request a rebuttal of 30 seconds per question. And to wrap up tonight, candidates will have 3 minutes for your closing remarks. Our timekeeper, Manny, give us a wave, candidates. This is the man who's going to guide you. He will signal when you have 30 and then 10 seconds left in your responses. Thank you, Manny. So here we go. Candidates, you each now have 1.5 minutes to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves. And we will begin with Shelley Ann.
Hi there. I would like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. I'd like to thank the Haldimand Press for hosting tonight's meeting. And thank you to Connie Smith for moderating this event. I'm Shelley Ann Bentley. I have lived most of my life in the Haldimand area. I currently reside with my husband Rick and my youngest son outside of Selkirk. I've worked as a psychiatric nurse for the past 25 years, taking care of people. I'm running for mayor for the same reason. Just to be clear, most people think I'm running to stop a single development. I favor development, but only if it makes sense. Haldimand County has many problems that need solutions. Traffic issues, our wastewater treatment plants are all near capacity, access to health care. If the province approves the MZO, that is the Minister's Zoning Order, all local planning control, including public input, will be removed to force through a city that many people do not want, on industrial land that is designated provincially significant employment land. Looking just one move ahead is a good strategy for playing checkers, but thinking 3 to 5 moves ahead is how to win at chess. Solving problems in the planning stage is far cheaper and cost-effective than trying to fix mistakes later. In addition to building houses, we need to plan and provide space for future business development while also planning access to health care schools, farmland, and green spaces.
Shelley Ann, I'm going to have to cut you off because you're over the
Oh,
1.5 minute time. So again, I direct your attention to Manny, to the rest of you candidates. Moving on now, next we have Jennifer Gilmore.
Hi. So my name is Jennifer Gilmore, and I live in Jarvis, and I moved to Haldimand County about 8 years ago from Hamilton. I instantly fell in love with the whole community of Haldimand County, especially the smell of the spring when you don't open your windows, but the aroma is fresh, but it's a reminder that winter's over, and in a few short months, the hard work of the farmers will have some great food that they've grown on their lands. So the reason I would like to be your next mayor is I believe that we need a change in our leadership. We need some new ideas, some new decisions, and I think I can be that person. So I have worked with the City of Hamilton for the last 16 years, and in the 16 years I've held a leadership role for the last of 8. And with that, I have experience as a leader. I know how to get things done. I have a business mindset. I develop relationships with my team that are trustful and respectful. Integrity is very important. And productive. This allows me to use my leadership skills to make change happen. But most importantly, I know how to prioritize, and I will stay focused and committed.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Moving on, Ken Hewitt.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to thank you for being here and participating in this debate. It says that you want to be informed, you want some answers, and you want to make an educated decision when voting. My name is Ken Hewitt, and over the past 12 years, I've been your mayor, working and collaborating with 3 successful councils. I campaigned on change. I said that I would create a better work environment with council and staff. I brought the county from having one of the worst financial positions to now one of the top municipalities in Ontario. I committed to improving our aging infrastructure and increased our capital spending to over $35 million a year, all the while keeping your overall tax increases to an average of 1.9% year over year. We have improved processes and brought more transparency. After 3 years of work, public consultations, and 400 pages of technical data, our official plan was approved by the province. This document will guide Haldimand County for growth for the next 25 years, as well as our 10-year capital budgets. Today, I'm here to tell you what I stand for and what I believe I can deliver in the next 4 years. While our friends in Norfolk are facing a proposed 9% tax increase, I commit to you that you can count on the same average of just under 2% per year. I had demonstrated in the past I will continue to raise an average of $100,000 annually from the private sector, but instead now we'll refocus those funds towards physician recruitment to bring those doctors here to Haldimand. We have done all the legwork with respect to our recreation strategies, and it's now time to roll up our sleeves and bring that indoor pool and other amenities that people want. I will continue to ensure that we push for purpose housing to meet all the needs for affordable housing. On October 24th, re-elect Ken Hewitt. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And Dick Passmore.
Hello, Haldimand County. It's great to be back in Caledonia. I got to spend a few days here during the Caledonia Fair, got to hear some great stories from people, and really appreciated the time to get to learn a little bit more about the challenges that people have expressed to me that they're facing here in our beautiful county. I'm a lifelong resident of Dunnville. I've been involved in our community all the way from my youth all the way up to now. I've been working to make this a better place for us, and my goal is to be elected mayor to help improve the quality of life for all the residents of Haldimand County. To get there, I'm going to be using some of the lifetime of volunteerism experience that I've had, as well as my work experience. I've had the opportunity to work both in blue collar and in management. I've worked in a labor-centered organization for many years, and I also spent a lot of time working with homelessness. As part of that, I traveled around the US and Canada teaching communities how to work with housing to end homelessness and how to make more affordable housing available for people. This is a passion for me. I want to see a better quality of life for everyone in our county, and I don't want to see anyone excluded from that. I didn't come for money. I came from a farm background, grew up on a small farm out in Canberra. I've worked hard all my life, and I live in Dunnville now with my family, and I'm really looking forward to bringing all that international experience home and making a positive change for everyone in our county with my local action. I think that should wrap it for me before you flag me there. Thank you very much, Haldimand County.
Good timing. Thank you, Dick. And Jake Vandenduel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jake Vandendoel, a lifelong Haldimand County resident. I live here in Caledonia with my wife Sarah and 2 school-aged children. Over the past 27 years, I have provided IT and telecom services throughout North America. I have over a decade of CEO experience managing large, multi-million-dollar projects and businesses. Most recently, over the past decade, I founded the company that would become Metroloop, a leader in fiber optic services. With a strong foundation of transparency and trust, I will focus council on increasing the availability of affordable housing and maintaining our existing assets while increasing green space within the county, such as adding dog parks where none exist today. I will ensure development doesn't operate like a runaway train. We must get back to building communities, not subdivisions. Haldimand has grown substantially since we last considered an indoor pool. I will spearhead bringing a long overdue indoor recreational complex to Haldimand with integrated healthcare space as part of my physician recruitment strategy. Mayors should limit themselves to a self-imposed limit of 2 years. Anything more and we risk finding ourselves in a bubble in which fresh thinking can no longer permeate. For this reason, I put it in writing that I am a 2-term mayor maximum. Finally, I can proudly share tonight that I have 0 land developer dollars in my campaign. I will answer to no one but the people of Haldimand County. I'm uniquely qualified for the mayor role. I will bring my keen attention to detail, strong work ethic, and a vision for the future to Haldimand. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. And now, let's just have a round of applause for our 5 candidates. Before we get to our first question, thank you all for putting yourselves out there. Number 1. All right, let's get to it. Our first question, here we go. Haldimand County has many potential resources, including Lake Erie, rivers, bountiful farmland, beautiful parks, community centers, promising small businesses, and an enviable location. We need a specific and well-integrated plan for enhancing and preserving those elements. So, what is your vision for the very best that Haldimand can be? How would you promote it? What timeline do you foresee for these plans? And please avoid feel-good generalities. Instead, be as clear and concrete as you can. We'll begin with Shelley Ann.
Hi there. I agree. Haldimand County has a lot to offer. We have beautiful Lake Erie. We have beautiful parks and the river. And the tourism is doing a wonderful job promoting that, and I would continue with the tourism profile that they have instilled in our Haldimand County. We also need to provide more parks, more green space for our residents here, and provide walking trails, as I've heard, and there's a need for that. So,
All right, thank you, Shelley Ann. Next, Jennifer Gilmore.
Hi. So we have a wonderful staff that work for Haldimand County, and they've done a great job with the work that they do. So I would continue working with them and coming up with new strategies and new ways of promoting our various resources. We could hold some public consultations and see what you guys would like to do and how you would like to promote. Again, we do need some more green space, we need some more parks, and we need, in all honesty, I wouldn't undo the work that's already been done. We had, like I said, this is why we have our staff and our administration, and I would continue to work with that staff. I would collaborate with them, and we would just move it forward. I don't know that we're in a place where we are not advertising and that we're not successful. We have a lot of people that come our way for summer trailers and houses and stuff like that. So obviously they understand the beauty that's around here. So I would just continue to work with the team that we already have in place.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ken.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we are doing some things right with the county and that our tourism department's working well. And we have spent a tremendous amount of money in the past years to enhance our Trails Master Plan, our program across the county. We've spent dollars just not too long ago in Cayuga to enhance what was a rail line bridge, now is a pedestrian bridge for many people to enjoy. The river and the lake presents a unique opportunity for Haldimand County, and through our new branding and our advertising, we have done tremendous in the last 4 or 5 years to bring people to Haldimand County to see what we have to offer. So we spend a lot of time. We work with a number of different community groups, such as the Friends of La Fortune, to make sure that La Fortune Park is an asset, and we continue to support them in their efforts with Frisbee Golf, and we've seen now that happen in Jarvis, and we're excited to see it continue.
Thank you, Ken. Dick?
As someone who enjoys the outdoors in our county, I'm a person who likes to kayak in the Grand. I fish in Lake Erie, swim in Lake Erie, use the trails, and enjoy Jarvis's disc golf course. I'm a person who really appreciates all the effort that's been put in to make this happen for us, and I really want to see that continue, but I really want to see us celebrate the uniqueness of each of our communities. I want to see Haldimand County support Dunnville, Selkirk, Fisherville, all the small communities to celebrate the thing that makes them uniquely themselves. I want us to work together as a county to help promote the unique, special things that you can get in each area, because Cayuga is not Dunnville, Caledonia is not Selkirk. We really need to go into what makes those communities special and start promoting that a bit more. There is no homogenous, Haldimand is all the same. We don't see the community as one large city. We are made up of very small communities, and we need to really work hard to encourage more tourism to those spaces by providing more access to affordable housing in areas that will allow us to have more businesses, which will then attract more people. It's all about branding, and it's all about continuing the great work that's been done, but taking it in a slightly different direction for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. And Jake?
So, as mentioned, we have some great assets, Lake Erie and the Grand River. I don't think the Grand was mentioned yet, but those are assets that we tend to take for granted because we live here. It's true, our tourism department has been doing great work. However, I think there's some room for improvement on some of the assets that they're promoting. So, for example, it was mentioned, we have great trails. But one of the things I keep hearing is the trails end at Haldimand. So if you look at neighboring trails from neighboring municipalities, all trails end at Haldimand. Those are some things we can do better. Create an interlinked trail system as an example. Accommodations is something I hear as well. It's a little bit lacking. So when you try to draw people out for anything more than a day trip, we are lacking with accommodations. So that's something that I think economic development can certainly help us with as well. And just overall promotion, we should look to bring some bigger events here to pull those people in and get us on the map for people that wouldn't normally look to Haldimand. So overall, again, we're doing things well, but I think there's a little bit of room for some improvement with the facilities and the exposure we get when we're putting this out to the media.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Now we will begin with you, Jennifer, and this question is, Haldimand is experiencing a shortage of family doctors and other medical professionals in our care facilities. What is your plan to bring these professionals to our area?
Well, I think we'd collaborate with council, we'd come up with this is a really difficult question, I'm going to be honest. It's something that we so desperately need. As our community grows, there's going to be more people moving in, and all we can hope is that it attracts some interest in the medical field, that they want to come and live here and work here. We're not the only municipality that is suffering with a shortage of doctors and nurses and that. And it would be very, very hard for we would have to come up with some plans. We would work through some recruitment. We'd put up some recruitments, and we could it's not that I don't have a plan. It's just that it's not as easy of a plan as everybody sitting in this room thinks that it is. It would need a lot of work. And to be honest, I don't know if it's something that we can see a huge improvement in the next 4 years, because it's something that it will continue to happen. We could invest more into our hospitals. We would definitely have to work with Norfolk County, because they are the ones who who has our health board. So there'd be a lot of collaborating with Norfolk, to be quite honest with you.
It is a big question for sure. Ken?
Well, thanks for the question. The barriers to physicians and others coming to Haldimand County is the location and desire to be here. Over the past number of years, 10 years, I've raised over $1.2 million with the private sector to give to our charities, and I have made that campaign commitment that rerouting them funds and putting them into a plan to attract and bring physicians and nurses and PSWs to Haldimand County. I believe we can help them with their mortgages, we can help them with their setting up of offices, we can help them with other practices. I truly believe that we have a plan and we can make it happen in the next 4 years. And so I'm excited about it, and I think that I've shown that in the last 10 years we can raise the funds to make it happen.
All right, thank you. Dick?
One of the great things when I was on the hospital board was our ability to reach out to new physicians, and we had an active recruitment team within the board. They did a wonderful job because they are inside the hospital itself. We were connected with the doctors that are there. We heard the challenges and the struggles that doctors were facing locally. We understood from interviewing doctors in other communities some of the challenges that they face coming into a community like Dunnville or like Hagersville, where obstetrics were limited or not available at all. Those doctors who wanted to practice would go to a larger hospital somewhere where those activities were taking place. So what I suggest is that we work forward, combined with our hospitals and with our provincial counterparts, to look at things we can do as far as attracting community health centers, which is a fantastic model that's used across the province, which includes a community hub, which allows doctors, nurse practitioners, and frontline workers to be all together in the same place to provide a wraparound service, which would then attract more doctors to a space. We have different models of funding right now, family health teams, independent doctors, and we really need to find a different way, because the old way obviously is not working, and we need to look to the future and look to new alternatives to make this happen, and I commit myself to that.
Thank you, Dick. And Jake?
So this is something that's quite fresh in my mind, because just today I published a physician recruitment strategy on my website, so you might want to check that out as well, but here's the Coles Notes version of that. Last week in Dunnville at the debate, this came up, and it's certainly a major issue. It's a crisis in Dunnville right now, the lack of doctors, but it's a crisis everywhere, but especially in Dunnville at the moment. And it was suggested in Dunnville that signing bonuses might be the trick. Give these doctors money to come here. Well, that's a flash in the pan. That's my experience being in business. You give somebody a bonus, they come, they live out the duration of whatever their contract is, and then they're gone. You need something that's going to keep them here. These doctors, they have families, and they are just like us. They want to live in a community that we would want to live in. So they're looking for these amenities. We have a lot of things going for us here. We're neighbors to the city of Hamilton, where we have university, because a lot of these doctors, they have spouses that are in similar related fields. So we have that there. But overall, I'm looking at making sure we give them adequate clinic space where they can set up. Instead of giving them a sign-in bonus, instead we give them medical practice management so they can set these practices up, because these are new doctors, and they need this help, because this is like running a business. They've never done it before in most cases. So that's what I'm looking to do to entice them here.
All right, thank you, Jake. We'll move on to our next question now. And we'll, oh, I'm sorry, Shelley Ann. That's right, okay, keep me on track, yes. My bad. Shelley Ann, wrap us up.
That's okay. I would seek out healthcare workers while they're in the universities and college systems and introduce them to Haldimand County and what we have to offer here. Also have integrated health teams. You know, they compromised healthcare, or compromise them with health professionals by doctors and nurse practitioners, social workers, and mental health counselors. We need more teams like that to look after all our needs.
Excellent, excellent, and I apologize for that. All
I
right.
have-
A rebuttal?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
Sorry. So I just want to say, With all due respect, I don't know that privatizing our clinics is the way to go, and it's wonderful that, so much fundraising has happened, but as you've said, in the last 10 years you've done it, but nothing has changed for us in the last 10 years. And the thing that we have to remember is we do not, our medical, our health committee is through Norfolk. So most of this, unfortunately, will have to be done with Norfolk. It just can't be done just by raising private funds, and certainly not paying someone's mortgage when we have a problem with affordable housing.
Okay, and Ken, 30 seconds?
So our health and social services contract has nothing to do with physician recruitment. I believe that whether it's incentives, whether it's helping them with their practice and managing their businesses and helping them get off their feet, all of that is going to make a difference to bring doctors to Haldimand County. So I commit to that program, and I know that we can make it happen.
All right, anyone else on that question? We'll move on then, and Ken, you'll begin with this next question, number 3. Haldimand has maintained significant reserves for many years while making capital and operational improvements and while keeping taxes at around 2%. What strategies do you have to keep the county doing well financially? And if you intend to stop development, where will you make up for the funds lost from development charges?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I'd say that the majority of the reserves that exist in this county are because of the last 3 councils and successful management that we've had. That being said, we have put in place a number of provisions to ensure that as we improve our capital expenditures, we do not put that on the tax base. And so moving into the next 4 years, I'm confident that we can manage the taxes, maintain the 2%, and minimize the effect on its capital budget. At the same time, our growth is cyclical. Growth is starting to slow down, as we all know it, and so 4 or 5% of what the tax base is today is coming out of growth. We will have to backfill that, and I have a plan, and I believe that we can make that work within our tax budget so that we don't see that the people here paying taxes are going to see the 6, 7, 8, or 9% as we see in Norfolk.
All right, thank you. Dick?
As a taxpayer, if I see a good return on the investment of my tax dollars, I don't mind paying 2% or 3%. There's no reason for us to expect that we need to see the jumps that Norfolk has taken. We're in a very good position. Staff and council have done a wonderful job keeping things in place for us. Our reserves are there as a result of good money management by those who are in charge of those funds. And we do need to look at possibly a slight increase in order to be able to fund some of the changes we've got coming in. There are some things that we have going on in our community that are not profitable. They are things and services that we need to provide to improve the quality of life for people. Our libraries, for example, are not profitable. They are not a money-making venture. There are a lot of things that we can do within a very limited tax increase that will help us to move forward without having to bring in a major development of people and an influx of people that is going to be a drain on some of our other reserves. So that's 30 seconds. That's plenty for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dick. And Jake?
So as Ken said, we do have significant reserves today. But I'll point out that some of those reserves and those funds exist through asset sales, for example, the sale of hydro. Now, there are bylaws in place on these reserves and these funds to protect the principal balance generally, and there's a lot of checks and balances there, so they're not just going to deplete overnight. And it's all about responsible money management, that's for sure. And I will say this about taxes. So we're not going to be playing catch-up. We're not going to find ourselves in a situation where we're playing catch-up like Norfolk is, where we're getting slammed with a 9% or even a double-digit tax bill. That's not going to happen at Haldimand. We're in very good shape. There's no threat of that happening. I will point out this. This is something that I found very interesting when I was reading the recreational survey. And 62% of respondents actually said they were okay with a tax increase if that meant they were going to get an indoor pool. I just wanted to point that out because that was very interesting to me. But I don't think we're going to be anybody's looking to start jacking taxes up for an indoor pool. But to Dick's point, people are more comfortable with tax increases if it's justified, and it's not a surprise.
Thank you, Jake. Shelley Ann?
I'll agree that we have a good significant reserve, absolutely. And we do receive development charges from our developers. But if we grow, if we double our population, what will more people cost us? What will the doubling of our population really cost with increase in ambulances, increase in doctors, schools? There's infrastructure issues that would need to be dealt with. So I'm all for growth, but we need to control the growth. And we do have a growth strategy plan, and sticking to it would be great. Thank you.
All right, and Jennifer?
So yes, we have a very healthy reserve, and as Jake pointed out, that's from the sale of a couple assets, but it is also, the last 3 years, there was a pandemic, and there was not much that went on. There was not much money spent. So we are going to have to start spending some money. We are going to have incurring costs year over year that are going to increase whether we want them to or not. Staffing costs will not go down. Staffing costs will only increase. And if we continue to go back to our administration and ask them to make savings, find savings somewhere, then we're at a point where they're not able to do their jobs. So we need, as a county, to find ways to generate revenue and to go back into the levy so that we can keep our taxes at 2%. And this is not the first time we've had a AA rating before in the past. We have had this in the past, but we need to find ways to make some revenue, and I believe that we need to look at our development charges. There's a reason why we have one developer who continually wants to come back to Haldimand County. It has to be profitable for them somehow, some way. So maybe we need to start looking at some of our development charges and potentially raise the cost of those, because as Shelley said, our services are going to have to increase, and their price per unit is supposed to include those service increases. So we need to maybe have a look at those development charges.
All right, thank you. Since some of you, oh yes, rebuttal, Ken?
Please, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the most people here saying that we have been doing a good job money management. With respect to our hydro sale, I just want to remind people that it was through the team that worked through that we got a 54% premium on that sale. So it wasn't just the sale of the asset. We actually got 54 cents more than what the actual asset was worth. With respect to development charges, it's in our 10-year capital. If it's not in our 10-year capital, you cannot just simply put what you want into development charge. So if I could change development charges, I'd double them if I could, but you can't do that. And let's face it, if we put a development charge that doubles, we simply are going to pass that off to the people that are paying for the homes.
All right, thank you. Since a number of you have already raised the question about an indoor pool, a lot of people here in the hall tonight want to talk about that. Oh, sorry, Jake, you have something to say to that?
Yeah, if I could, just
Yes.
quickly. Prices on, or cost, pardon me, on services such as ambulances are not going to, they will increase, but so is the tax base when you increase population. And as you increase population, you gain efficiencies as well in your services. So to sit back and say, what are ambulances going to cost us? What is this going to cost us? That's a moot point, because everything is relative. It's all growing at the same rate.
All right, we're going back to the pool question. Yes?
Sorry.
Oh, Shelley, you have another rebuttal? Okay.
So our development charges, it appears, were looked at in 2021, and there was a slight increase in there. So the effective date for development charges, it looks like May 14th, 2022 to May 13th, 2023. So there could be an increase in development charges coming up.
All right, anyone else? Okay, okay. We just want to get back to the pool question, because a lot of people here in the hall have raised that, and since some of you have mentioned it already, that discussion in recent years has grown around the need for an indoor recreation center, an indoor pool in Haldimand County. Do you see this as a need for Haldimand, and if so, how would you intend to pay for such a large project? Dick, you can begin with this one.
So the pool, as we hear every 4 years, is coming. It's something that we need to move forward with. It's been expressed by people across the county that there's a desire for indoor pool space. These indoor spaces are expensive. As we know, they are not necessarily profit making, and that's where we can really look at the concept of those community hubs as being a part of this, or working with other partners such as the Y or some of the other service clubs to help offset the cost of running a pool. The ongoing costs of maintenance are high, but if we can work with an external partner and establish either a private donor or as I said, a community agency that's willing to take on the brunt of the work, then we can really move forward in a great way and meet the needs of our community. I know Dunnville has talked about a pool for a long time. We've talked about where to locate it strategically. I want to make sure that we do a good job of looking at the data, looking at where the best case for use is among our communities, and start there and build the first pool, and then use that model to move forward in our other communities, because it's not fair for all of Haldimand County to have one indoor pool in one location when we all need to see those facilities in place. So as I said, community hubs are the way to go, and that will help us bring everyone in together, and those are profit-making ventures. Thank you very much.
All right, Jake, time for you to jump into the pool question.
Yeah, thank you. So again, recently I just posted on recreational complex for Haldimand. So I did some analysis on my own by looking at other communities that are similar size to us. And what I found was we can't just go in and build an indoor pool. We're going to lose our shirt on that. This has to be a much bigger play. It has to be a recreational complex. So, think pool, think seniors programs, think daycare, preschool, gymnasium for basketball programs, volleyball programs, etc. And ideally, we even integrate it with a health care clinic, and that solves our problem on the physician recruitment as well, where we're looking for first-class space for them. Like Dick said, I think ideally we try to partner with somebody like a YMCA to operate the facility, or at least a portion of the facility. Regarding funding, I go and look at what Lakeshore did, which is down by Windsor, if you're not familiar with it. They built a new facility in Bell River recently. They got, that facility was about $52 million to build. They got $17.3 million from the provincial government, $17.3 million from the federal government, and the balance the community came up with through tax money and also through grants, or local grants and local donations. And I don't think we're any different. We can accomplish that as well.
All right, thank you. And Shelley Ann?
The people of Haldimand have been asking about a pool for 20 years. And Haldimand County actually had a recreational survey that was held online, so not many people knew about it or participated on it. But absolutely, we need a pool, and it is very costly to run. But we should be attaching it maybe to a high school where we can have youth programs, we can have seniors come and use the facility. And I agree, it needs to be run with the YMC program or those type of programs, that it won't cost the taxpayers a lot of money to keep running the pool and the maintenance on the pool and such. I agree that we need to do fundraising, and we need to lobby our federal governments and provincial governments for funding for these type of programs.
All right, thank you. Jennifer?
So if the residents of Haldimand County would like a pool, then we will look at building a pool. Again, we'll have to do some research with some private partnerships like the YMCA, go to the other levels of government, but the recreation survey indicated that that's what people are looking for. So we will just have to find ways of doing it. I've heard that people would not mind a tax increase for something that they want. So, put the numbers out there, find out exactly how much it's going to cost, how much if we're not able to fundraise the money, and put it on the residents, then, tell them what the increase would look like and allow you to make the decision from there.
All right, thank you. Final word on the pool to you, Ken.
Well, this is analysis by paralysis. I mean, I think that most people here have known that there was a pool slated to be right here at the high school down the street, not, 35 years ago, and it was voted down by a previous mayor. And here we are talking about a pool all over again. So I truly believe it's time. We've done the work. It's time to make it happen. It's time to put it to rest. We have a plan to work with the public. It's 65 cents to 35 cents with the county. I would propose to change that to 50-50, and we can roll our sleeves up and let's just get it done. We've talked about it enough, and it's time to make it happen. We can do it here in the east. We can do it there in the east, and we can do it here in the west as well. So I am excited. I have a plan to make it happen without it hitting the taxes, as well as understanding that whether it's a library, whether it's an arena, whether it's a pool, it's a service that the public wants. It's not about a money-making machine. I am all about making money, and I found out very early as my mayor, our tenor mayor, in saying that maybe we should close some libraries down to save some dollars. You found out real quick that that wasn't what the public wants. The public wants the services. If we can make the pool happen, let's make it happen.
All right, sounds like you're getting your pool soon, folks. Our next question is about the relationship between Haldimand and Six Nations residents. It remains tenuous. Do you have any thoughts on how to better that relationship going forward? And Jake, we'll start with you this time.
Thanks. I'll start first and say I don't think it's about Six Nations. It's Indigenous, first of all, okay? The last, let's say, 20 years nearly, we've obviously had some issues in Caledonia. I don't have to rehash that. We all know what I'm talking about. But recently, especially with the Mackenzie development, our police services board really inflamed the situation, threw a lot of gas on that fire that didn't need to be there. I think now's the time where we really have to start fixing that relationship, and that's with all elements. That's with our police services board. And I really think we just have to clean that board and start over because trust is gone. We have issues at the county level. We have to try to regain some trust. We need to really start extending an olive branch to our Indigenous neighbors, all Indigenous neighbors, and having a conversation there because this is not us versus them. And that's what it's turned into. This is not us versus them. We have to think about why this is even happening in the first place. And I've thought a lot about this, and I've talked to a lot of people, and what it seems like to me is, they have ongoing land claim issues, they have concerns, they're being ignored, and then they see development start. And they continue to be ignored, and the only way that they can get attention is by going onto those lands. Sometimes you can't blame them because they're being ignored when they try to follow the proper channels they're told to follow. I don't agree with the methods all the time, that's for sure, but we have to do things differently because what we're doing is not working.
All right, thank you, Jake. Shelley Ann?
I believe, we need to live with Indigenous and ourselves into a group that we used to be. We used to get along with everybody, so we need to get that back. We need to have discussions with Indigenous leaders, all of them. And we need to sit down at the table and break some bread and have discussions and positive discussions. And see where they stand on their land claim issues and see where we can make an agreement and get along like we used to be able to get along.
Thank you, Shelley Ann. Jennifer?
Well, I would sit down with their leaders and ask them how we repair our relationship, to be quite honest with you, and start moving towards being respectful and respecting their traditions and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, what we all need to remember is they're fighting for a cause, and unfortunately, that cause is at a provincial and a federal level, and we unfortunately are caught with what happens when they're not being heard, like Jake said. So it's very frustrating for everybody, and it's frustrating for the people that can't drive down the road. It's frustrating for the people that are not being heard about their land claim. So I would definitely help lobby the different levels of government. I don't know that there could really, I believe the past councils have tried their best to help them with the different levels of government, just the different levels of government, not necessarily the relationship, but the different, because it does affect us as well. But I would sit down with them and ask them what would it take for us to repair our relationship and start moving towards that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ken?
Well, everybody wants to talk about how to fix the Six Nations problem, and you look around here, there's nobody here from Six Nations. The challenge is that, and recently meeting with the chief and members of Six Nations, is that they have a governance issue, and we all know the governance issue lies within the territory. So for many of us to sit here and say what we want to do or how we want to do it is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's a governance issue that has to be resolved on Six Nations before we can move forward. We have a great relationship. Most people here in Caledonia have a great relationship with Six Nations. I have a great relationship with many people on Six Nations. So we will continue to do that, but we have to allow them the space to build that governance, those issues that respect with governance. And then once that's completed, then we can start to tap into how we can work together and how we can bring solutions that are going to benefit both Six Nations and Caledonia.
Thank you, Ken. And last word on this question to you, Dick.
Okay, thank you. As someone who has spent many years working within the Indigenous community across Canada and the U.S., I bring a different perspective to things here. Our local government really needs to work in a better way with the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe. We need to do a better job of making space to have discussions. I appreciate the fact that finally in 2022, during the election cycle, we finally have a diversity and equity committee in Haldimand County. We are way behind on this. We don't have a land acknowledgement completed and enacted in our community. They're working on that right now in 2022. None of the 94 recommendations that came from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission were acted upon by the current group that's running the county, the council, the current mayor, the current council, the current staff. Nothing has been done with reconciliation. We have actions that we can take as part of the work that was done by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that are specifically built for government. Those need to be addressed. We need to look at those and we need to take action on those. And I'm a little bothered by hearing about the good relations with Six Nations and referring to one nation when we have two groups living next to us with unique identities. It also bothers me a bit to hear about the great relations that we have with them based upon actions taken by the current council and mayor.
All right. Thank you for that. Our next question involves housing. We are in the midst of a housing crisis. What are your plans to ensure adequate housing for everyone in Haldimand? Please address both the attainability for middle-class market housing and below-market subsidized housing. And Shelley Ann, we'll begin with you this time.
I believe we have a planning department in Haldimand County, and we need to talk with our Haldimand County Planning Department and our developers so that we can get appropriate housing for seniors. Seniors are asking for, one level, a garage, a little yard so they can downsize. We also need to look at housing for the disabled and the ones that are on a disability pension, and we need to lobby our governments for more funding for those types of homes. We need to have growth that is for our small town communities as well. So building these big $1 million homes, it's just not sustainable for our county, and it doesn't service the ones that we need to be servicing.
Jennifer.
So in terms of the subsidized housing, I would deal with the Haldimand Norfolk Housing Corporation. They are the experts in this. They're trained to do this. They have the contacts that are needed at the federal and the provincial levels. They're the ones that receive the funding for the subsidies. They monitor the wait list. So I would support them however they need support, continue to support them with the subsidized housing. I would probably reach out to them as well about some affordable housing. For me, I think it's about the family that, mom and dad are working, they have a few children, and at the end, with utilities going up and groceries going up, and by the time you have a bit of recreation in there, things can be quite tight. So I think that those are the people that we need to concentrate on finding some affordable housing for. I don't, speaking with developers and some landlords, and maybe, I don't know that this could be possible, but possibly making a deal, giving them a bit of a break on their property taxes to keep some of the rent a little bit lower, because at the end of the day, the landlord obviously needs to make a profit as well. But let's just, work together, and hopefully that the profit doesn't need to be quite large and we have some affordable housing.
Thank you. Ken?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a legal ability to reduce taxes for anybody, unfortunately. But that being said, housing is a product of the market, and we're in the middle of a slower market. Housing is going to start to decline. We're starting to see that happening. We also have committed previous councils to about approximately 1% of your tax dollars to Haldimand Norfolk Housing Corp to ensure that we increase our stock. Currently, we have committed to, I believe, it's 36 units that are going to be built in Ramsey Drive in Dunnville. And we're looking at ways to work with home builders to try to establish more choices within the program. So whether it's affordable housing or whether it's seniors type style housing, the challenge is telling a home builder what to build is like telling a farmer what to grow on his land. It's not something that we simply have the ability to do as a government. It is a private sector industry, and it's driven by market. So increasing supply is one way of bringing the prices back in reality and bringing the prices to make it more affordable for our children to be able to stay here in Haldimand County.
Thank you. And Dick?
We always say children are our future, the youth are our future, yet we're not looking at the data that shows that most youth today, millennials, the young people who are in the age of buying houses, are not interested in buying houses. So why are we spending so much time trying to develop suburbs that are car dependent, that are requiring million-dollar mortgages that our families will never be able to pay off? We need to look at what's actually going on in the world and stop this focus on automobile-centered suburbs that are not attracting young people, and they definitely don't keep our seniors in place. We need to work harder to make more affordable housing, and we can do that by encouraging development that uses market rent to offset the cost of subsidized housing. That's a way of subsidizing without it coming out of our tax dollars. We need to spend more time looking at alternatives that have been used across North America that help other communities thrive, instead of us becoming a bedroom community where our seniors get shuffled off to some other place. We need to do more to keep our seniors at home. We need to do more to look at secondary suites on farms. We need to look at some other alternatives to million-dollar homes in the suburbs. Developers will build what's needed, what they can make happen in the community, and they love building multi-million-dollar establishments, but we really need to push back and say, we need a place to keep our young people and to keep our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jake, last word to you on this question.
I certainly agree with Dick. We do have to push back on the developers, especially when it comes to developing sub 1,000 square foot, single floor bungalow style homes, especially for people that are looking to downsize when they retire, and also just for single income families and just families that don't need those monster houses. Myself, I live in a house that's not even 1,200 square feet, 1950s bungalow, and it's fine for my family. But we need more of that, and we need to push back, and we need to use every tool in our toolbox. And how we do that is we lean on staff, the experts at the county offices, to find ways to do that, whether that be through bylaw changes, whatever it is. We have to find a way to do that. Now, regarding subsidized housing, we do have the Haldimand Norfolk Housing Corp, like I believe Jennifer mentioned. Again, they're experts. We need to lean on those experts. We have to set targets and come to them and say, this is what we need in the community based off their reports and whatever they provide to us. We'll look at it as a group, set the targets, ask them what they need. They come back to us, and we have to start making the hard decisions. Is this going to translate to a tax increase to add additional units? Whatever the case needs to be. Again, lean on the experts, and we can make it happen.
All right, thank you. Well, this would be, yes, rebuttal, Ken?
Yes, if I can just remind everybody, we're governed by a planning act that comes from the province, and that act is pretty rigid. We don't have the opportunity to choose what we want to build or how many homes we want to build. Many are accustomed to what we're seeing now new in Avalon here in Caledonia. That's not Haldimand brand. That's not an Empire brand. That's the provincial brand. They are forcing 13 to 15 units per acre, and that's something that we have to subscribe to. We can't just make it arbitrarily decision to change that. So that's part of the process. The Planning Act governs all planning in Ontario.
All right. Well, on this similar topic then, the Nanticoke Development MZO request has a lot of people talking about smart growth, right? Being specific, what exactly does smart growth look like to you in Haldimand County going forward? And Jennifer, we'll start this round with you.
To me, smart growth is putting houses where, looking at the surrounding areas, surrounding lands, making sure that it makes sense to the surrounding lands. We're not looking at putting a house right next door to Lafarge or Stelco or something like that, where you have to, the new homeowners have to sign a waiver because they're within a blasting zone, or they're, so it's about putting them where it makes sense. As well, I don't believe that we should have to put our factories in a position where they have to make concessions to developers because they want to build a couple homes in a blast zone. I don't think that that's fair. The developer should be the one making the concessions, not the industry. They've been there for quite a while. So it's making smart development in smart areas that fit for the county. It's about, having properties, bringing in more stores, more restaurants, not shopping, but grocery stores. It's about putting it where it makes sense. And industrial does not make sense.
All right, Ken.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, certainly. The Nanticoke Development MZO request has a lot of people talking about smart growth. Being specific, what exactly does smart growth look like to you in Haldimand County going forward?
Well, smart growth is a buzzword that came out of the McGuinty government, and smart growth is simply that growth pays for growth. So the previous council and staff, engineers, technicians, and many people involved supported the idea of looking at an opportunity to regionalize our water and wastewater system here in Haldimand County, which would reduce ultimately the cost to the end user, which is all of the people using the system, as well as it would get many more people on the system and reduce that. So it's a opportunity to proceed with a study, and that was the intent behind that. And as well, it's an opportunity to reduce a setback influence zone within Nanticoke that currently makes of no sense, because for 50 years we've had no development there in industry. And we've had to tell many farmers that they can't either sever a lot for their family or sever a lot for their kids. And those farmers and landowners deserve the same rights as many of the farmers across the county. So we get the severances, or get the land use back to the 750 meters that is standard, and it's a regulated setback, whether it's Lafarge or anywhere in Nanticoke. We would never put any housing in any position that's conflict with our industry and run our industry out of this county.
All right. Dick?
So for those in the audience and online who are hearing smart growth and thinking intelligent growth, that's what I'm going to address. Most of us don't think of McGuinty when we think of smart growth. We think of how can we grow in an intelligent way? How can we grow in a way that makes sense for our community? How can we grow in a way that will benefit more people in our community than a group of people who don't even live here yet? How can we do the most to affect positive change for the people that live here? Smart growth, intelligent growth, is not driving industry away, as Stelco has threatened. Smart growth is not taking over farmland or industrial land for housing when we have existing urban space available. What we need to do is to work on attracting more industries. That's part of smart growth. And how do we do that? We attract newer industries. We attract things like green energy companies. Ontario has an opportunity here, and Mr. Ford himself has said that we want to be the green energy capital. We need to capitalize on that. I don't know why we haven't done more as a county to attract those new industries and the ancillary businesses that come along with those, and the job growth that comes with that. We need to change the way we're doing things, because obviously if it's been 50 years and nothing has happened, then it's time for change, and we need to make that change happen now.
Yes.
Jake?
So when I think of smart growth, I actually think of balanced growth. And what that means is something I said when I opened is we have to get away from building subdivisions and get back to building communities. So I'm going to give you an example. In 2017, Caledonia here had roughly 3,950 homes, including the apartment units. I know that because I did the analysis to see how much money Metroloop could make in this town and whether the business case was viable. Empire came along and suggested they were going to build 4,000 homes in Empire Avalon. Great. Since then, Gateway Commercial's come along as another one of their developments. I've heard now, I think Mars Homes has bought another piece of land across the road behind Gateway Church. The point is, they've got the land set aside for a school. I don't get terribly fussed about the schools, even though it's a major issue because it's a provincial issue and there's guidelines on where schools need to be placed. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's a ministry issue. The municipality can't control it. But what we can control is recreational facilities and employment lands and all the other ancillary services and businesses that go along with that. So I just can't get over the fact we're going to build 4,000 homes and we haven't had any conversation on roads in the existing Caledonia and our facilities such as arenas, pools, etc.
Shelley Ann?
Well, I'm the MZO queen over here. But the current mayor and the council voted unanimously to request an MZO from the provincial government for a community of 40,000 on 42 acres of industrial land, which is provincially significant employment area in Nanticoke. And it is currently being farmed by local farmers. And we are currently losing 319 plus acres of farmland a day in Ontario. So we can eat the crickets that Justin Trudeau wants us to eat later. But smart growth is not putting 44,000 homes around a steel plant that was created to have a buffer from residential use. So Stelco is there, the pickling plant is there, there's an air products production facility there. They clean dirty, contaminated soil there. We have an Esso refinery, but yet we want to bring in 44,000 people. Our roads right now, you can't travel down Highway 6 from Caledonia to Port Dover without being in a traffic jam at the best of times. Those people are going to be traveling that Highway 6 corridor to go to work. There is absolutely no need to put those people there. There is room to grow in our other communities, and we do have a growth strategy plan to 2051 to have 77,500 people here.
Thank you, Shelley Ann. Oh, Ken, yes?
I'm glad that my friend Dick here mentioned that we do have space available, because he's absolutely right. We have in our growth plan approximately 25 years worth of land available, which doesn't include Nanticoke, which is why there's no proposal in front of council for Nanticoke, which is why there's no such thing as 40,000 people coming to Nanticoke. It has all been smoke and mirrors and continues to be smoke and mirrors. At the same time, I can assure you that Stelco is not leaving. Stelco is the #1 producing steel plant in North America. They will not leave, and we will ensure that they won't leave because we trust that they will stay here in Haldimand County.
All right, just a reminder to keep it down. Peeps in the audience, okay? We don't want to send you home to watch the proceedings on TV. And just a reminder to candidates, keep your eye on Manny, and Manny will keep his eye on you and catch his eye just to make sure you know where your timing is. On a similar question, yes, sorry, Dick, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, there are a couple
Sorry.
rebuttals.
Who is first? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
Dick, you go
All
first
right,
then.
Thank you. An MZO is a specific tool that does not include mandatory community consultation. I don't know why we keep hearing that obviously we're going to have community consultation when we're taking a process that it precludes that. An MZO should really be used for a very limited thing where you have a time crunch on something. Yet I hear we are not planning on doing anything there for quite a while. So this whole concept of the MZO is just business as usual is not factually accurate. Thank you.
Okay. Shelley Ann?
On March 1st, the county did receive a report from Empire Homes, requests and their proposal for 44,000 people, 15,000 homes around the steel plant. And that council did go back and request an MZO order. And from the provincial document, it says the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing states publicly that he expects that before a city council requests an MZO, that they do their due diligence, which includes consulting their communities, engaging with the Conservation Authority responsible for regulating the lands on which the
All
zoning
right,
order is
Shelley Ann.
requested.
You're just out of time. Jennifer?
So I'm not opposed to development around Nanacoke. I just don't know that the current plan that has been advertised by Empire Homes is the best solution. And we may not have a proposal now, but to say it's 25 years out, we can't say that because they can come next week and deliver a proposal, and council's not going to turn them away. They're going to consider it. Just because it's not here now doesn't mean it's not going to be here next week.
Jake?
Really quickly on the MZO issue. So it's true, there are no applications in front of council today for 40,000 people or 15,000 homes there today. But where I have the real issue is, and this was alluded to already, but I have an issue with the MZO being applied for in the first place without any public consultation. It's not, you can't say we're going to consult later on when we get the applications. That's a big step that was taken, and we certainly need to withdraw that and let it go through the proper process.
All right, I think that's it on that topic. Still related to building and development, various discussions have taken place over the years about road infrastructure. It has been alluded to already tonight, and improvements in road infrastructure, such as a second bridge in Caledonia and Hagersville bypass. What road infrastructure projects would you push for, and how do you intend to fund those projects? Ken, we'll start with you.
Well, the second bridge, I can tell you, is not in our 10-year capital, so that means that $40 million is going to come out of the taxpayers' purse if we're going to do one, and I certainly wouldn't support that. That being said, we are here in Caledonia a victim of some previous bad planning that has put us in a predicament where everything does go down one bridge, one that we currently don't even own, yet can even fix. On the other hand, it is the kind of site plan that comes to council just recently in Hagersville that is going to get the trucks off the main street and is going to help us to build a truck route at the cost of the developers or the home builders versus the cost of the taxpayers. So there are opportunities, and as you see these site plans that are getting built here in Avalon and other places, there's markers along those site plans, and every version of it or division of it has, whether it's a stoplight, whether it's a new road, whether it's an addition to the road or addition to lanes, all of that is part of the planning process and part of that subdivision plan. So a site plan in Hagersville and bringing more homes not only keeps that school and the hospital open and running, but it's going to alleviate the traffic ultimately off the main street.
All right. Dick?
It's fantastic to see that. Oh, just checking. There we go. It's fantastic to see that we actually are getting the bypass moving forward. I was looking at a very, very, very old document today where it had been recommended to build that bypass decades ago. There have been very many studies done on different projects that need to be done around the community relating to roads. One of my favorites is the intersection just up the way here on Haddington that the recommendation coming from the consultants was put a roundabout in as it was the most economical in all aspects, and council and county staff chose instead to put in stoplights, which was the second choice. If we're going to spend money on consultants, then we should be prepared to take the advice that they provide for us. The bypass that was requested was developed by the consultants back in, my apologies for the date, I don't have that on my notes here tonight. It's been a long, long time, well over a decade since that report came out. It's nice to see that these promises are now being made, that we're going to make things happen. But the bridge in Caledonia, second bridge, that was a promise made to the residents of Avalon when they moved in. That is a promise that they've heard right from the start. I don't know where they got it from, but I've heard that and the school. So these are things that they have heard when they were purchasing. So someone is providing, again, some misinformation along the way. Thank you.
All right. Jake?
So regarding the second bridge, it's certainly traffic's a problem. I live in Caledonia, I know all about it. But I think we have to remember, it's not just building the bridge. The traffic has to go somewhere. The north side, not a problem, McClung Road. That's where the bridge was proposed to be, always. The south end, there's nowhere for it to go today. There was supposed to be a ring road constructed. That is permanently on hold because of the Mackenzie subdivision, as I understand it. That ring road is not going to get completed, and I can assure you that the people of River Road and Haddington Street are not going to be looking to absorb all that traffic on their roads. That's not what they signed up for there. So again, the second bridge, I think it's shelved for a little while. When it comes to, say, let's pick on the Caledonia Bridge, although it's a provincial asset, it's certainly something that everybody's identified as you're basically taking your life in your own hands on it these days. I was joking the other day, and I really shouldn't be joking about that, but we have to do things differently. Although it's a provincial asset, it impacts us 100%. Our roads touch either side of that bridge. And I know that current council has been in touch with the MTO for years. However, we need to go about this a different angle because we're not getting any results, i.e., we'll have to go and get our own engineers on that bridge and take a look at it so we can come with our own engineering report rather than the MTO's engineered report. That's just one example.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Let's move to Shelley Ann on this question.
Well, Caledonia certainly needs a bridge, that's for sure. Either two bridges or fix the one that is currently there. Haldimand County does not own the Grand River. To build a bridge across the river requires permission from the province and ideally permission from both Six Nations elected council and the overall support from their community. While a bridge would be expensive, I see infrastructure as an investment in the long-term growth of this town. Its value will always be greater than its cost. To get permission from the province requires submitting a plan to the Ontario government included with our official plan. A plan to reopen our official plan to include a bridge for Caledonia, and obviously you've been working on the bypass for Highway 6 for Hagersville, and this would be a lengthy process, and community involvement would be essential.
And Jennifer.
So, again, we have a planning committee, we have a planning department, and they have the expertise in that planning department, so working with them and identifying issues where we need to address those issues and taking the advice of staff and lobbying the province to for the second bridge, as well as look at the different highways that go through and some road studies to find out how many more cars we can expect and what can we do to divert some of that traffic.
All right, thank you. We're going to shift gears. Oh, Ken, yes, 30 seconds.
I want to thank my friend here next to me for making a comment about not going with the roundabout. Two examples. One was Queen Street ramp in Dunnville. When I first became mayor, the consultant said that we needed a ramp, and the public said, no, we don't want a ramp. So we listened to the public, and we actually changed it, and we did not put the ramp in. Just the same here. The local public actually said, we don't want that roundabout, we want a stoplight. So the public won, and we listened to the public in that case. And that was an intersection as a result of bad planning because a retirement home was stuck in the middle of it.
All right. We're going to move on to the whole concept of transparency and accountability. What do these terms mean to you? And what will you do to ensure those qualities are seen during your term? And Dick, we'll begin with you this round.
Okay. So that ends my note making for this. Okay. Accountability and transparency are key to any government. They're also key to the way I live my life. My integrity is the only thing that I can really guarantee 24/7. I will do everything I can as mayor to ensure that the actions of council are transparent wherever possible. Those limited times when we need to stand in camera and have a discussion will be well under the bylaws that we have in place that protect that information. But the one thing that I will do is I will speak my mind. I will stand up for the people of this county. I will say what I mean. I will mean what I say, and I will do everything I can to not even show any indication of anything that might be considered as impropriety. I will make sure that I step away from any conflict of interest cases. I will not stay in the room when there's a conflict of interest case. And we've seen that happen, within our existing council. One of the big things that I will do is ensure that in my integrity as making this public, I will not be doing things like giving out $5,000 checks to local charities in a community during the week or month and a half before an election in your competitor's area. I will not be doing anything that looks like I'm having discussions with developers. I will not be doing any of that. So again, please, the language for the audience, we need to remain respectful, but I just want to be factual. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Jake.
Thanks. So I've actually written quite a bit about trust and transparency and ethics in general. It's how I govern myself day to day. Transparency at its heart is communicating your thoughts behind your decisions and publicly posting it. And that's what I intend to do. I'll give you an example of some of the issues I have with transparency today in the county is we're behind on a lot of things with our public reporting. So for example, the Community Vibrancy Fund, I'm going to pick on that for a second. There's nothing to be found online of where that money's been going. So it's nearly a $40 million fund over 20 years. And I have been fighting, and I know a few other candidates have been fighting tooth and nail with the clerk's office trying to get a full accounting of that fund. They've only been able to go back to 2016. We had to wait weeks for it while they built the records because they did not have the records available. That's one example. That's a fund we should be proud of. It should be posted online. And again, our financials are behind as well. We could blame it on the financial department. We could blame it on COVID. But I'll tell you this, other municipalities are up to date, and every private business is expected to be up to date by the CRA. And there's no excuse for it.
Thank you. Shelley Ann.
Well, I think we need to have more in-depth public consultations in a friendly environment, not having them in front of a council and committee, but in a public forum where you can discuss issues with the county staff. No one should have to wait 400+ days for a freedom of information request. And then also about the conflict of interest. If I have a personal feeling that gets in the way of being unbiased or objective, I will disclose a conflict of interest and cite my reasons. I will not vote for or discuss the matter before council.
Thank you, Shelley Ann. Jennifer.
So, being a civil servant for the last 16 years, I'm expected to be accountable every single day for what I do to the citizens of Hamilton. So, it's just a normal thing for me. It's following the rules that are put in place. It's following the bylaws and the procedures. It's being fiscally responsible. Not, when you have a budget, it's not buying the most expensive shiny thing. It's buying what makes sense and just do what you need to get the job done. I think that, we should be creating some sort of a dashboard on our website for different funds as to where the money has gone. We should be, we should be open and sharing all that information. It's not our money, it's your money, and you should know where it's going and what's being done with it. So I don't see I have an issue with accountability. It's part of my job every day.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Ken.
Well, we have an integrity commissioner that works for the county to ensure that if anyone feels that we're not following those guidelines and disclosing anything that we should be disclosing, we're governed by that. We also have a number of committees that we've established to engage the public and make sure that those committees, or whether it's a youth committee or a seniors committee or an economic development committee, they're there to bring back information. And we are AA stable. We have been AA stable, and we continue to file our financial reports on a regular basis. We have, prior to COVID, I've had meetings, public meetings every year in various parts of this county to give the public a chance to express their concerns, express their wishes, and move forward. We do that annually. Unfortunately, COVID changed that. And lastly, I just want to say that it was I that designed the Community Vibrancy Fund, and it was I that brought the $40 million to this county. And I can tell you that that $40 million went through the county, and it was spent through our various councillors, and the funds are there and accounted for, and we certainly can report that back to the public.
All right. Jake, rebuttal?
So I have the Community Vibrancy Fund report that was sent to me right here in front of me. And what's important is we don't have $40 million available to us because our council went and borrowed against that fund. And we don't have the information on exactly what it cost us interest-wise. I asked for it. They don't have it available. But if I go off a newspaper article on the SACM, because that's what I've had to resort to, it's going to cost us $14.2 million of that fund in interest charges that we threw out the window that was intended for the community.
Ken, rebuttal?
So again, that $40 million is not taxpayer money. It's $40 million that I constructed and brought to the county. That being said, those funds have been brought
Please,
forward.
everyone.
Those funds have been brought forward, and had we not spent those monies early, those roads wouldn't have been completed, and those projects wouldn't have been completed. We'd be spending that money today at probably 3 or 4 times the cost of the material. So, in my opinion, in a low interest rate environment, we were actually successful in bringing those funds together, getting those projects done, and people are experiencing and enjoying those roads today.
All right. Dick, rebuttal?
One of the keys to being a good leader, to showing accountability and transparency, is showing respect for others. And when we have a current leadership that does not show respect for others at all times, it can be a bit problematic. When we have leaders whose personal biases get in the way of doing the job of talking about our Indigenous community next door, for example, when we have people saying, I can't wait to see that person arrested, when we have people saying that, someone else who's had an input, sorry, I'm out of time, but thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on, people. Given that Haldimand County is the home to more and more people from diverse and or marginalized groups, have you taken any anti-oppression, anti-racism training? This might be Indigenous cultural training, positive spaces, and or peer support for those with mental health challenges. And if not, why not? And again, these questions are from our audience here with us tonight. And Jake, we'll start with you for this round.
Sure. So if anybody that doesn't know my background, I volunteered with the Ontario Provincial Police for 16 years. I retired in 2018 as an auxiliary sergeant. I also worked full-time for the OPP in the capacity of a special constable, provincial bailiff for 8 years. As an employee of the Ontario government, and especially in policing, I took plenty of courses, lots of courses. So we took courses on, obviously, Indigenous issues and relations. We took a lot of courses regarding mental health, sensitivity, workplace harassment, etc. So I have many courses under my belt.
All right, excellent. And Shelley Ann?
Well, I'm a mental health nurse for the last 25 years, and that was at the psychiatric hospital in Hamilton. So I've seen a lot of people come in there from different cultures, and we had lots of training. I also participated in the Native Women's Shelter in Hamilton and the Native Cultural Center. I used to take a couple of my patients down there for programs, and I would join in those programs.
Jennifer?
Having worked for the city of Hamilton, I have several years of that training. We do it every year. We do harassment training. We do we sensitivity training, I spent 8 years in Ontario Works. So within Ontario Works, we had even more training on different groups of people, how to treat them, how not to treat them, and at the end of the day, you treat them like people. So yes, I've had several training.
And Ken?
Well, prior to my career as being a mayor, I was involved quite a bit here locally with minor kids and different groups, hockey and baseball. My business as a financial advisor requires me to continue my education on a regular basis, and some of that education is required for sensitivity in dealing with different ethnic groups. And at the same time, the county does have programs that we participate in. They are some are volunteers, some are part of the curriculum, I guess, as you say, for the staff, and some council participates as well. And recently, not too long ago, the Police Services Board and members of the Police Services Board has participated in some training as well.
And Dick?
I love this question. I've not only had the opportunity to receive training, but I also provided a lot of training and using the training in active situations in my life. So I have positive spaces training, the anti-racism, anti-oppression training, Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act training, Indigenous cultural sensitivity training, peer support training, applied suicide intervention training, and the list goes on, nonviolent crisis intervention. These are all things that I learned and things that I've used in my work as I've been over the last several years working both in homelessness as well as in the training capacity. So it's nice to have the training, but it's also nice to have the practical experience that goes along with using it in your daily life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Residents have raised concerns about the level of policing in Haldimand. How would you address this concern, and what would you consider a return to regional policing? Shelley Ann, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, it is evident that our OPP are not around our communities with the racing of traffic and the lack of radar, I guess. So our regional policing used to be wonderful, and we used to, they had a relationship with our communities. We would have to look at how cost-effective the OPP budget is versus the regional aspect of that.
All right, Jennifer?
Well, I've heard from several people that they're not happy with the police service levels that they've received. We are about to renew a contract with the OPP, so I think that would be an opportune time to have the Police Services Board work with the OPP and identify areas where we can increase our services and expect some better level of services. In terms of the regional police, that's a big one that we would, again, I don't know that that's something we'll see within 4 years, but definitely the legwork can happen. We would have to hire some sort of a consultant to see if it's even viable and how much it would cost us compared to how much the OPP budget contract costs us, and yeah.
All right, thank you. Ken?
Well, regional policing was disbanded back in the Mike Harris days in our previous MPP, and we were sold this bill of goods of bringing OPP into a regional community policing program. Unfortunately, OPP is just not designed for community policing, and we're seeing that. The challenge is that it is a formula. It's a formula across the province, and there's a manpower issue, and it's not just here in Haldimand, it's across the province. So our Police Services Board continues to lobby, we continue to lobby, but even if the folks here wanted to pay more tax dollars and hire more police officers for the OPP would simply say, no, that's not possible, it's not available. You cannot hire more officers for any other purpose other than to have what you have based on the household you have. So it is a frustration for many of us. I know that we'd like to see more. We've talked to Niagara, we've talked to Hamilton. Both of them are not interested in expanding their program out here in Haldimand. And frankly, going back to a regional policing strategy, I don't believe would give us any more different result than what we have here today.
All right. Dick?
So I'm not in favor of reinventing the wheel and trying to revisit regional policing. The time was here for that, it's gone. What we need to do now is to ensure that the contract that we have with the OPP is being met fully. And if there's an opportunity for us to negotiate a change in staffing, or to at least get the full staffing complement that we've contracted for, that would be fantastic. In lieu of more policing, we need to look at more opportunities to use low-cost, effective methods to help reduce speeds on our road. We need to work with Farm Safety Association to help work on reducing farm accidents on the road. We can look at traffic calming measures, which cost very little to install and very little to maintain. So if we can't get more police, then we need to do a more creative way of handling the situation that we currently have. Thank you.
All right. And Jake?
So this is something I'm somewhat familiar with, at least on the inner workings of how things function. I'll just say right off the get-go, I think going back to a regional policing model is not what anybody really wants. The resources that the OPP provides to the community outside the contract are immense, and we have instant access to them. The local detachment has instant access to them in a time of need, in the same way that neighboring communities have instant access to those. And where I'm going with that is, if there's a major incident happening in, say, Simcoe, they will draw from Haldimand temporarily, and unfortunately we feel that, but we also get the inverse of that. We get to exercise that and use that at times. Dick's right. We do need to go down the road of other things, such as automatic speed enforcement in school zones. Get the speeding down, change the driver behavior, where we don't have to have bodies sitting in cruisers. That's expensive, and they can't be there all the time, and they get called away for other priority calls. A camera doesn't get called away. So as much as people don't like photo radar, that's what it used to be called, automatic speed enforcement in community safety zones, and specifically school zones, I think we certainly have to look at it before we have a student die. I live near River Heights School. I see what happens on the streets around there, and some days it's pretty scary.
All right, thank you all. Here's a biggie, and this one we're going to start with Jennifer. You are running for the mayor's chair. What political experience and education make you best qualified for this position? And again, Jennifer, we'll start with you.
So I've said it, I work within a municipal government. I have worked in various departments within the municipal government. I think one of my, where I've learned the most great deal would be in our audit services department. Within audit services, we work closely with council as well as senior management. We, in the clerk's department, so, wrote council reports. I understand how the whole structure of government works, the function of council as opposed to the function of our CAO, the various departments and how things happen. I mean, council doesn't just show up one day and they decide to sit down and have a meeting and they vote. There's a lot of work that goes into a council meeting, and so there's a lot of work that happens from staff. So I understand how all that happens and how all that works. So no, I've never sat on council, but I have definitely worked with the council to help move their positions forward. It's very difficult sometimes to sit up here and answer some of these questions fully. No fault of his own, by all means. We have a person here who sat as mayor for 12 years, so he has all the right answers, and good for him. I'm glad for him. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think that our current council has done a terrible job, but it's easy when you have all that information in your back pocket. So, it's just working together. It's collaborating. It's working with your council.
Thank you, and Ken.
Well, prior to me being mayor, I've run a financial services business, and at one point it was to the tune of about $75 million. Currently, the county operates a budget of about $120 million annually, and I bring to the table, the ability to deal with conflict and the ability to deal with risk management, and I've proven with the past 3 terms Because as you read the newspapers in the last 12 years, it has been quite boring. There hasn't been much to talk about, and that is because the team has worked as a team. Our councils have worked well. We've collaborated well together. We've got staff in the right places. We've ensured that they are there for the right reasons and they're in the right places and they bring the right information. And so along with that, we operate well, and everybody stands on their own. They make decisions, and I support them. I support the councilors, and I support our senior management team and the rest of the staff that goes along with it.
Thank you. Dick?
I will be very happy to say that many years ago, 12 years ago as a matter of fact, I had the privilege of being the MC at Mayor Hewitt's inaugural event in Dunnville. And one of the great things about that was Ken had zero political experience going into that role. I have the same level of experience. What I do have is many years of experience traveling around the US and Canada working with municipal, federal, provincial, and state governments, working on ending the homelessness problem. I have a lot of experience working with teams, building a diverse team and leading a diverse team, and training communities about team building. The skills that I bring forward are the ability to take a diverse group of people with a diverse group of viewpoints and different biases, bring them together and get them to work together in a way that will benefit the people that we're here to serve. And that's what I bring to the table as candidate for mayor. Thank you.
And Jake?
So I've got quite a diverse background between working in government for 8 years, significant volunteer experience, which I think it really grounds you. And in the community, just alone here in Caledonia, I've had over 20 years with the Caledonia Agricultural Society, 16 years with the OPP Auxiliary, as I mentioned. 10 years I was the primary organizer of the Operation Good Neighbor Food Drive as well, amongst the many other volunteer opportunities I've had. Now, I've also been in business for a long time, and I've operated small businesses, I've managed very large businesses. And you take Metroloop, for example. That was one that you'll be probably more familiar with here in Caledonia. It's a rather large business, over $1 billion of commerce running through that network, millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars worth of infrastructure that we built. When you do that type of work, you get exposed to a lot of financial situations, legal situations in the boardroom, and you get put in the fryer. You have bad days. There's bad days at the office. And I think until you have a bunch of bad days, you don't know what kind of a mountain you can climb. You don't know how you're going to handle it. You need somebody that's seasoned, that's been in the fire before, so that way they can make decisions and move on. And again, when it comes to projects, I've done many, many projects. And one of the things I'm sometimes accused of is overanalyzing projects. But I will overanalyze it, but I'll move on quickly as well. Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Jake. And finally, we have Shelley Ann.
As a nurse, I joined my union and was quite active in my union as an executive member. I sat with the redeployment member. I was a job evaluation chair, bargaining committee member. I attended conferences where we discussed bylaws, bargaining issues. I would like to bring our community together, communicate with our residents, listen to the ideas from our residents. I'd work well with our council and staff.
Well, I think you all bring wonderful experience, whether it's from the boardroom, the business room, the council room, or a hospital room. I think all life experience is valuable. So I just want to give you all a round of applause right now. For offering up your experience and putting yourselves out there. It's not an easy thing to do. At this point, we're going to move on to your wrap-up remarks. And again, you have 3 whole minutes each, and we'll just go in the order from left to right once again. Shelley Ann, would you like to lead us off?
I'd like to thank everyone for attending this debate tonight. I look forward to the next 4 years working for you to make this a better community for everyone. I believe the measure of success for any politician is answering one simple question: did I leave my community in better shape than when I found it? You've heard a lot of things like fiscal responsibility, openness, and transparency. I too could have an impressive bank account. If I sold my home, I would be rich but homeless. Unless that money translates into something you can touch and feel, then how has having impressive reserve funds made your life any better? Instead of investing in the financial markets, I believe we should be investing in our community. Bridges, roads, and hospitals all have greater value than their cost. I have spoken to the people in our communities. They would like to see traffic issues addressed. Safety of our roadways is imperative. Housing that includes one-story homes with a garage and a yard for those people that are downsizing. Affordable homes for seniors and those on a disability. Accessible recreational activities for all ages. Haldimand County needs its own healthcare committee, comprised of healthcare professionals. We need to get into the universities and colleges to recruit early, looking at healthcare teams that include doctors, nurse practitioners, social workers, and mental health counselors. We need a plan moving forward to go from being merely a bedroom community. Our plan needs to include business development and job creation, not just plans submitted by private developers. As mayor, I'm eager to work with our provincial and federal counterparts. By listening, communicating, and welcoming your ideas, we can all make Haldimand County a great place to live, work, and play. As your next mayor, I promise to work for a better future, one that makes sense and includes everyone. I promise to make our government more transparent, open, and accountable to you. On October the 24th, vote Shelley Ann Bentley, and let's all move forward together. Thank you.
All right, Shelley Ann Bentley. Jennifer Gilmore.
So I'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening and giving me the opportunity to answer these questions. I think that when I moved here 8 years ago, I didn't move here thinking that I was going to actually appreciate everything the Haldimand County offers, but I've come to realize that there's so much more here, the farmlands, the community, the sense of community, it's just very overwhelming, and I would like to be a part, or I would like to serve the Haldimand County, and one of those ways would be as mayor. I believe I have strong leadership skills, and I have a municipal business mindset. I understand how things work. I've participated in pretty much all of those things, and I understand the importance of infrastructure and contracts and all those things that take time to learn, and I already know those things. I try and work every day with the integrity and open-mindedness and things that you need to move change forward. I have supervised office staff to outside road workers. I've been a leader of many different types of teams. We've always got along well together, and I always generally appreciate the team that I work with. And I think working with council will be a great thing. We can move forward all of your visions and what you guys are expecting, what you guys need. We need to increase some of our service levels and some of the things. I want all of you to be able to walk away feeling that you got the service that you deserved and that you're paying for. And so there's some work that needs to be done. And again, I've said it before, I don't think council has done a bad job. I just think it's time for some new ideas and some new people making some decisions. You're not going to get change if you keep the same old. You need change to make change, and we're growing very quickly, and there's a lot of things happening, and so I would like to be part of that.
Jennifer Gilmore, everyone. And Ken Hewitt.
So first, I don't know if people heard, but two police officers were killed just this morning at Nennisville, and I just want to say our hearts and prayers go out to them. I also want to say that the 5 individuals that are standing in front of you today, it's not an easy job to stand up here, and I commend everybody that puts their name out, that puts their neck above the weeds and takes the shots that we take as we move along, banging on doors. It isn't easy, but I will say, people ask me, why do you do it? Why do you just continue to do it? I got to tell you, you love it. We love what we do, and I think that speaks loudly of the kind of people that we are here and the people that are running. We do love what we do. I will tell you, though, that what you need to hear, and I will stand on fact and I won't stand on fiction. You've heard the terms runaway and irresponsible growth, and that is frankly fear-mongering. Speed of growth does not run away, but is dictated by the free market. No one here can control that market and are misleading you by saying so. Irresponsible suggests that years of work and staff time, along with expectations and approvals of the province or of our official plan, are all incorrect. I would argue and say that those involved are much more capable than my friend here who lacks the experience or education to simply state otherwise. One stands on an issue and that doesn't exist, and others stand on, well, we're not quite really sure, they just want change, we just don't know what that change looks like. I will sit here and tell you I stand on performance, and that is measured. I will stand on what I know and that I can control, and I will stand for Haldimand. The challenges our family face today are going to be hard enough with soaring interest rates and inflation, and now is not the time for change in council. Now is the time for stability, and it's for predictability and proven financial strength. Experience does matter, and as your mayor, I will bring you the doctors, I will bring you the pools, and I will bring the recreation items, and I will bring you a 2% average tax rate that you can count on for the next 4 years. A leader has to keep their eyes open and their mind even more. Listening, adapting, balancing the needs of our communities is the measure of a true leader. I am motivated by my heart, but I'm guided by my mind, and I hope that after tonight you will be as well, and vote for Ken Hewitt, your mayor, on October 24th. Thank you.
Ken Hewitt, everyone. And Dick Passmore.
Thank you. Once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight, for the amazing team putting this together, and for those taking this out to those people who couldn't be with us tonight. I am the first candidate to put my name forward to run for mayor. It wasn't an easy decision. It came because people in the community came to me and said, we need a change. These are the issues that are affecting us, and they haven't been resolved in the past 12 years. I listened to people, and I put my name forward because I'm one of those people in our community who gets things done. My name went in May 2nd, very first person there. I didn't wait until May, June, or July. And I promise you that as mayor, I will continue on the same course that I've been on so far. I will be here for the people of Haldimand County. I will listen to the people of Haldimand County. I will devote 100% of my work time to Haldimand County. I will not run a separate business while I'm running mayor, the office of mayor. I will not run off and chase another opportunity while I'm in the office of mayor. I will be here for the people who vote me in, and for the people who don't vote for me, I'm here for you as well. My role in this community has always been as a resource for those who don't have a voice or those who don't feel heard. I've been speaking up for people. I've been protesting for people who need to have that voice heard. And my goal as mayor is to make a better quality of life for the people in this county, for those not just in the upper echelon with the wealth, but for those who are struggling, for our seniors who are on a fixed income, for our young people who can't afford to buy a home in our community, who want to stay here but currently can't afford it. I am here for everyone. I'm here to listen, and I'm here to make positive change. I will not mislead anyone. I will not make relations with Six Nations and New Credit anything but better because of my experience working in the community. I'm here for the people, and I will stand for the people, and I will not sit down until you tell me it's time to sit down. Thank you.
Dick Passmore, everyone. And last but not least, Jake Vandendoel.
Thank you, everyone, for your thoughtful questions and attendance tonight. Haldimand is growing faster than it ever has. Now is the time to recalibrate. We must get back to a balanced approach of building communities, not subdivisions. I promise to act as the check and balance that council is intended to be. I will ask the tough questions of the experts. I will bring my decades of infrastructure and construction experience to the table. I will bring a fresh approach to chronic issues such as land claims along the Grand River, physician recruitment, and the Caledonia Bridge fiasco before yet another bridge falls in the river. What we have been doing hasn't been working. It's time for a fresh approach. My track record and experience speaks for itself. I fully apply myself to any responsibility I take on. I look forward to serving residents across all of Haldimand while keeping taxes in check, balancing development, and building a legacy we can proudly hand over to the next generation. You are here tonight because you care deeply about the future of Haldimand. The duties of a mayor are laid out in the Municipal Act. The first responsibility is to act as the Chief Executive Officer of the municipality. I ask you today, do you want an experienced CEO in the mayor's office, or do you want someone learning on the job? Do you want status quo or an accomplished builder with a well-rounded vision for Haldimand? I'm your experienced CEO and builder with the vision. Thank you again for your attendance tonight, and safe travels to those that attended in person.
Thank you, candidates. Again, I want to thank all 5 of you for your civility and for your positivity and your putting yourself forward, looking for wonderful futures for all of us and for our children and their children after that. So thank you. I want to thank everyone who joined us from home and our studio audience here for your civility and your support. Thank you to all of you. And you came out here and you care. You're engaged and you care, and that is so important. Take it from a longtime journalist and now a journalism teacher. You have to know honesty, you have to know truthfulness, you have to go with the facts because facts matter, journalism matters, and your vote counts. I want to thank our sponsors, the Haldimand Press, Caledonia Lions, Caledonia Chamber of Commerce, and the Realtors Association of Hamilton and Burlington. And if any of you missed any of this at home, you can always watch it online at the Haldimand Press YouTube channel where it will be posted. And I just want another special thanks to the Haldimand Press, because local journalism is so important today. The issues you all talked about today, and all of you behind me care about, affect us more than anything else that's happening anywhere else in our country. So please support your local journalism, engage yourself, educate yourself, teach your kids about the importance of journalism and facts and truth and how to get the facts and how to find the truth. So please do that. Please support your friends and neighbors and family to get the vote out. There was a letter to the editor I saw last week, which really troubled me because voter turnout is so miserable in so many municipal elections. And a letter to the editor from a citizen in the community said, when you only have 30-odd% people turning out, how is that a majority? How is that a majority running our democracy? Well, the answer is it's up to every one of us to get out and vote, and encourage everyone you know to do so as well. Engage, educate yourselves, get involved, make your vote count. So I'm Connie Smith. Thank you for asking me back, and good night, everyone at home and here from Caledonia.